Just talk us through the pace that you've seen in Pakistan.
Yeah, it's I don't know what it is in the water there, but there's just people that have come through and just there's genuine pace. I remember when Harris Ralph was coming through, bowling absolutely gas, and then it's even the net bowlers. Yeah, it's playing in India was always obviously a dream to go to the IPL. When you watch it, from when I first watched Brendan McCullum score that 150 in the first game of IPL, that was something that I really wanted to try and achieve, and to get there was awesome. It was not the best time, to be honest. But
Who would you rate as the toughest bowler you faced as an opener, bowling the first over in a T20 game?
I think I'd have to go Shah and Shah Freddie.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to an all new episode of Sporting Myths. I have a very special guest with me today in Colin Munro. Munro is one of my close friends in cricket, ranks number three there behind Usman Khwaja and Shadab Khan. Um, like that much. Manas, thank you for taking out time and joining me for this episode.
No
Firstly,
worries.
congratulations on the New Zealand victory. Any thoughts on that?
Well, unbelievable. And I don't think anyone saw that coming, besides obviously the players that are in India. Going over there in their backyard, playing on those wickets, it's tough. I thought first test the boys stepped up and then played well, and then I didn't think that they would be able to back it up like that, to be honest. It's not often that the Indian top order, middle order, with all those superstars, don't score runs in back-to-back test matches if they've missed out. And yeah, credits to the senior players stepping up, and then obviously Mitchell Satner, who hasn't obviously been renowned for his test bowling, stepped up when the team needed him and got those wickets. And yeah, Rachin Ravindra looks a good prospect. I know he's always been a good player, but my goodness, he looks really good even in those conditions when even the Indians looked like they were battling a little bit.
So, Manas, we've seen a lot of transformation in New Zealand cricket, like Conway playing those sweeps and reverse sweeps, and that innovation that's come into New Zealand cricket over the years. You were one of those players who plays a lot of different shots. How important do you think that is in New Zealand winning and part of your culture back home?
But I think if you rewind like the clock when Brendan McCullum took over the captaincy, it was you come into the team because you've got a certain skill set. You've got to stay true to those skill sets. And Devon Conway's always been a really good sweeper of the ball. And if you play into your strengths and you get out, that's okay. It's when you're going away from those strengths and you get out, then people will start asking questions or people around you. So whatever your strengths are, you need to stick to those for as long as you can. And Devon's done that really well in India. There's a lot of pressure on him too going into that Test series. It's not an easy place to bat, and I think he's come out obviously feeling a lot better about himself.
That's good, Manas. And you yourself played a lot of cricket in India. You've also been part of IPL teams. How was your experience of playing cricket over there? What's the fandom like?
Well for me it's not that the fandom's not really too big a thing. That's when I go out with Ross Taylor and Malinga or Kane Williamson, those sorts of boys, or in the RPL when I was with Trent Bolt and Maxwell and all those big superstars. You see them and it's like, man, people go crazy for them. So yeah, it's playing in India was always obviously a dream to go to the IPL. When you watch it, from when I first watched Brendan McCullum score that 150 in the first game of IPL, that was something that I really wanted to try and achieve, and to get there was awesome. It was not the best time, to be honest. When like, obviously playing in India is great, but it's a tough tournament to be a part of when you're not playing, sitting on the bench a lot. It's okay if you're playing and you're continuously doing well, but the tournament's very long for people that sort of come and go, and you're not too sure whether you're playing and to come and go, and when you go to training from week to week, knowing what to actually work on, because you might not play another game, but you've got to be ready as well at the same time. So it can be mentally draining a little bit, but yeah, I've had some really good times, in the RPL. So yeah, I think it's a love-hate relationship sometimes when you're in those environments.
Yeah, elaborate a little bit on the love-hate relationship.
Well, I just think you get picked up in the auction and you feeling great about yourself. You're getting over there and you've got all these expectations that you're going to be playing and you're going to be doing certain things, and Especially in sort of 17, 18 when I was batting really well internationally. I thought that I was going to get a really good crack, and unfortunately, you sort of come in for one game or two, and then you know what it's like. It's you expected to do well in those two games. You probably put too much pressure on yourself, and then when you don't perform, you get left out, and you go back and you think, is that the only opportunities that I'm going to get? Do I try and push harder at trainings, or do I take a step back now and just sort of enjoy that environment a little bit and see what the sights of India and see what there is, but just trying to just bring it back, and then so you go over there with the expectation of playing a lot, and then you don't. That's where that love-hate relationship sort of comes into it a little bit.
So you've like we're all aware of the rivalry that India and Pakistan have in cricket as well. What's the difference between playing in India and playing in Pakistan?
Well, to be honest, there's not much difference. I reckon obviously there's a lot more pace. Everyone talks about the pace in Pakistan. We know in Islamabad when you saw the two Shah boys coming through that can bowl 140 plus. So I think there's a lot more pace. There's obviously some Indian seamers coming through that have got a bit of pace, but I think they try and play the game in the right way. They try and move the game on and try and push. But I don't see a huge difference. The people are amazing when you come from New Zealand, where cricket's not massive.
Yeah.
To walk around a boundary and get your name chanted and getting looked after in that regard, then it's pretty cool to be in those environments where you sort of looked up to a little bit. Whereas in New Zealand, you're just another person and all that. Whereas in India and Pakistan, they actually look up to you, which I think is kind of weird because we're just normal people as well. But yeah, great times in both countries.
So Manas, you spoke about pace bowling in Pakistan, and you've mentioned this off the record. We've had these conversations in the dressing room as well, and you always mention how difficult it is to come to Pakistan and even face net bowlers sometimes. Just talk us through the pace that you've seen in Pakistan.
Yeah, it's I don't know what it is in the water there, but there's just people that have come through and just there's genuine pace. I remember when Harris Ralph was coming through, bowling absolutely gas, and then it's even the net bowlers. You go, oh, okay, I'm not going to face Naseem Shah or so and so in the nets. I'm going to go and face the netties. But the net bowlers have something to prove too. They want to show that they can bowl quick, and the ball's flying in and around your head, anywhere around that. So from now on, you know how I train. I just face a little bit of the flicker and some spin, and that'll do me. Get out of there. So at least I've got my fingers and my forearms intact because, yeah, they're out there to do some damage for sure. But yeah, the pace is the thing. I found it's not just the pace; it's when they start moving the ball too. Like up front, the ball swings conventionally, and then you know what it's like in terms of getting that ball to reverse in some of those day games when the ball's dry and some people are doing whatever they do to the ball to get it to reverse. We know that that part of the world, the boys are good at getting the ball to talk, and yeah, it's they get it to reverse quite quickly, and they got some really good skills at it. So yeah, to face the ball at 140, late 140s, early 150s with it reversing at the end, it's a little bit easier for me because I'm in and I've batted throughout that time, but with new batters coming in and facing it, it's horrendous. It's actually hard work.
Yeah, and on the fast bowlers topic, I wanted to ask you, does it surprise you that Pakistan hasn't had 200 plus wickets test fast bowlers since the 2000s? Like it's been 24 years since Pakistan last had a fast bowler who took 200 plus wickets.
Yeah, it does. It does surprise me. Don't ask me why. We've got so well, I say I've been in Pakistan for so long, but they've got such great bowlers in terms of skill sets. It's whether they, I think maybe the likelihood of a lot more T20 cricket being played. You look at someone like Shah Afridi who has got skill set. He bowls back of a length. He can bowl full. He can bowl bumpers. He can come around the wicket and do some other things. But I think the more and more cricket he's played, it becomes tough work. You look at most of the bowlers that play three formats. Their form does this a lot, and whether it's really good in T20 cricket, it's going to taper off in Test cricket. When it's going really well in Test cricket, then it's going to taper off in T20. I think the only guy that sort of really nailed it was when if you look at James Anderson's career when he got dropped from playing for England and just went red ball only. He could just know that he's got to get his body ready to bowl 20 to 25 overs in innings or whatever it may be, and it's easier that way. I think with the like T20 cricket, guys going down that sort of channel. As a bowler, I think it's very tough. As a batter, it's quite easy. You can sort of come and bat for a few sessions before going away and getting ready. But bowling, you have to be bowling a lot to get it going. And I think sometimes the Pakistan bowlers over bowl. I
Yeah.
think even T20 stuff. They're going to bowl 40 overs in a competition over a month, but they'll probably bowl 200 overs in the whole month because they're bowling for an hour and a half at training. Sometimes you've got to just tell them to cool off and listen to their bodies a fair bit. But I think the culture in Pakistan is to be seen to be doing more and more and just keep bowling and bowling and bowling because that's the only way your body's going to get ready to bowl. But I think there has to be a sort of balancing act in that, listen to your body, but also bowling enough overs to rely on your biomechanics to get the ball down the other end in the right area.
100%. And one of the complaints that I've personally had with Pakistan cricket is over bowling in the nets. Because I remember at the 2023 World Cup, Australia's fast bowlers did not practice at all. They did not turn up for training.
Yeah,
And they had optional sessions. Whereas, in Pakistan, you always have to go to the nets and always have to practice. And that's the general culture here. And
yeah.
that's where I wanted to also ask you, like, the amount of pressure that you see on players in Pakistan, do you think it's good for players, or do you think it hampers their progress?
No, I think it hampers majority. I think some players maybe would like that little bit of pressure, but I don't think it's good for anybody. I don't even know the kid that well, but like Saim Ayub, who actually, when I saw him playing for Peshawar, I was like, man, this guy's really good. And then I thought, maybe away from Pakistan, where the wickets might do a little bit more and be a little bit more up and down, he might struggle a little bit. But then he went to the CPL, and we know that's not an easy place to bat. And then he dominated and got over 450 runs that first year when he played for Guyana. And then that's when I was like, man, this guy's really good. And then when he went back, did okay for Peshawar. And then when he gets into that Pakistan team, I'm not too sure whether it is perceived pressure from outside or from coaches or people telling him how to play differently or if he is playing differently or whether it is just the pressure of international cricket. But we see him under Darren Sammy, who's quite a relaxed character and lets him do what he needs to do. And then in the CPL, the same when he's playing for Guyana, and he just dominates the way that he plays. And it's whether it's the pressure or not that gets to him. I think in Pakistan, I don't think I would have lasted as long in my international career if I was playing in the likes of Pakistan or in India, where you've just got everybody. When you're hot, you're hot. Everyone's on your back giving you pats. But when you're not, man, you're the villain, and you can be deep down really quickly.
Yeah, that's the problem. As a player, when did you enjoy your cricket most? Like relaxed environments. What kind of support did you need from the backroom staff?
Oh, I think when people just hold you accountable, sometimes I don't like it when it's too just go out there and do your thing and you don't hear from anybody for the whole comp, and then right at the end it's like, cool, thanks mate, off you go. It's sort of the ones that will let you play 3 or 4 games, but then we'll always come in and check in and see, even if you're doing well, it's just those little conversations on, mate, how you going? You doing well against the spin? You doing it this way? And just bouncing ideas off each other. Really, it's. I don't like the coaches that are too intense, where they come to you after every game and say, "I think you could do this better or not." But if it's 3 or 4 games, at least they've got a bit of a sample size for them to have a look at and see if you've struggled at any areas in the game, or if you've been really effective in areas, and just either pumping your tires up even more if you're going well, or just giving you a bit of tap on the back to say, hey mate, like, just remember you're a good player, keep doing these things well, because that's what we've spoken about. But yeah, the too intense coaches or the way too relaxed, I think you've got to find a nice balance, especially in the franchise cricket coming, moving forward.
Yeah, and on the franchise cricket front, there's a lot of talk in Pakistan, especially, and I'm talking to you about Pakistan mostly because you've been part of this culture for a very long time, and you've been very vocal about it, speaking to me and speaking even in public, that let these players free, let them express
Yeah,
themselves. don't put too much pressure on them, and then they will perform. Because as you always say that there's enough talent in Pakistan. But one of the narratives that there is in Pakistan is that a lot of these players, the Pakistani narrative right now is that they choose franchise cricket over international cricket. But we've seen that happen in New Zealand as well, Trent Bolt being one example. What's the
Yeah.
future of cricketers? As in, where do you see international cricket being, especially white ball international cricket? What's the future for that, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's a tough one, because people will often say, "I walked away from New Zealand cricket," or it was, but I thought I was handed the cards really because I was told I wasn't going to be playing one day cricket again, and few and far between T20 games, and when I chose to go to the Big Bash. But I think the future of one day cricket is in the balance. I would love to see T20 internationals scrapped and only played World Cups. Let players go and play in different conditions, and then have bilateral ODI series where there's something on it every single time, whether it's points going to World Cups or whatever, like they're trying to do with the World Test Championship, and then have a World Cup every 4 years, and then with the One Day World Cup have that, because I think commercially one day cricket's still quite up there in terms of for TV rights and things, because they can sell the adverts and things like that throughout the 6 hours of the game. So I think there's still a market for that, but it's whether people are going to go and sit for 6 hours and watch, because I've got kids now. They want to see things thick and fast happening all the time. So I would like to see one day cricket stay. I think there's still an area for it, and the World Cups. I don't think anything. People ask me where was my highlight of my career. I think playing in that 2019 World Cup was the highlight. On and off the field, had a great time. It was, I think, and then obviously red ball is red ball, but white ball, I'd like to see T20s internationals scrapped, but having a World Cup every 4 years, like what they do with football nearly, just have a couple of friendlies here and there, see what they're doing. And then one day is still the same, literally go and play 3 games, bilateral series in Australia come to New Zealand, you've done that one. And then every 3 years, or, every 2 years, you've got your rankings, and then those are the ones that are going to the World Cup or whatever. So that's how I would like to see it, but, that's just me.
Yeah, makes sense. And some of the players that I wanted to speak to you about, that you've played with or against, some of the Pakistani guys. So I'm just going to pose some questions to you on whether if they were in New Zealand, how would they be treated? What do you think? How would Naseem Shah be treated if he was in New Zealand right now?
Oof, someone with that skill set, he'd be sugar coated. Look after him, make sure that he is ready to go. Sort of how they treat sort of Adam Milne and like a Lockie Ferguson. They Ferraris. They're not going to give you plenty of mileage, but when they give you mileage, it's going to be good looking, and it's going to be really nice to be a part of. So I think he'll be playing every format. That's 100% for sure. And then they'll just make sure that they look after him in terms of his body and making sure he's not bowling too much. And yeah, he'd be an absolute rock star over here.
And what's your thoughts on, like, if Saim was in New Zealand? Saim, you mentioned Saim as well. Would he be regarded really highly? And what would the process be around him?
Oh, yeah, I think Saim would be in the mold of like a Finn Allen, someone that's destructive, can go out there and change a game within a few overs. So go out there and express yourself, and don't overcomplicate things. Don't think what if. Think, how can I express myself more, and how can I do things, and just rather, instead of limit yourself, go even harder and make sure that you put in the bowlers under pressure all the time. And yeah, I think New Zealanders would actually enjoy watching Simon and be a part of it, because when he plays, he changes games and takes the bowlers on, and I think we like to see that sort of thing. And I think in New Zealand we allow that. We've got better at allowing people to go out there and be themselves and bring out their personalities too.
100%. That's one of the things that I've noticed over New Zealand cricket over the last decade or so. That have a lot of players who don't start their careers off as well, but they are given extended runs. Especially batters are given more extended runs, and eventually, there is enough there, and they do perform. Finn Allen being one example.
Yeah.
Yeah, Saim, like the pressure that you get in Pakistan, as you mentioned, or India is very high. One of the things that I also like, we've had this discussion off air. There was this narrative when T20 cricket first started. People used to talk about, how if you were good at Test cricket, you could play any format. But you tend to disagree with that. What's your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll flip it the other way. I reckon if you can play T20 cricket, you can play Test cricket. Not just because of the way baz balls come and all that. I just think if you can hit the ball anywhere in terms of picking length, because that's what good T20 players do. They pick length really well. They either go in over the top, or they hit the ball down the ground, or they hit square strong. So I think it's picking up length really, and I think that's the art of batting. If you can pick up length, then you're one step ahead. And I think you can always defend, but if you've gone from a really defensive, I'm not going to say you can't play T20s from tests, but the transition I think will be a bit longer than it would be for a T20 player to go to Test cricket. You look at the likes of Duckett, who literally I think he left 4 balls over the English summer, and he's an opening batsman in those conditions. He's looking to score, he's looking to hit the ball, and he's in a positive frame of mind. When he plays Test cricket, he strikes at 90 or 100, and when he's playing T20, he's going at 120, 130. Sometimes he's going a bit higher, but that's like his sort of limitations because he's always looking to play the same way. If you are just a Test cricketer that's going at 30 to 50% strike rate, how are you going to all of a sudden go at 130, 140? It's just I think that the gap is too big and too different. If you're looking just to play the straight bat and leave the short ones, how are you going to bowl if bowlers are just bowling short to you in T20s and slow balls? How are you going to score? I just think that transition will be a lot longer than the other way around.
Yeah, makes sense. So that old narrative and all of that. One of the other things that I wanted to discuss with you is the role of data analytics in cricket now. Um, I've seen a lot of ex-cricketers talk about, how data wasn't used in their time. But my argument against that is that there was no data available back then. So if
Yeah.
everyone is using it and you don't use it, there is a problem. What are your thoughts on data analysis and how do you see it changing cricket overall?
I'm a big fan of it, but I wouldn't just use it the whole time. I think it can shape a way a team wants to go about their business, and picking teams as well. I think it's important to use those sorts of analytics to pick a team or pick a squad, and then you can because you can't have 10 or 6 Kieran Pollards in your team. I know there's probably not even 6 of them around the world, but you can't have those sorts of players. You need to have one or two, like I think this day and age, maybe one player that can sort of hold the glue together and then everyone else around you. So, yeah. And then also for me, it's just looking at, I love the footage stuff and knowing, even now, talking to analysts around the world or when I go to a new tournament or a new franchise, saying, what's my weak point? Is it left arm spin or is it this? Like, what can I do to get better at those guys? And because everyone's going to be looking at it and going, oh, okay, well, when Munners comes in, bowl some off spin or bowl this or bowl that. So I'm always looking at asking them, instead of just using it to think about the opposition,
Yeah.
how I can actually use it for me to get better. If I'm striking at 140, 150 against these guys, but only 120 against the left arm spin, say, for instance, okay, well, then I know when I play against this team that's got 2 left arm spinners, they're going to come on or whatever. So I think there's a huge, I think there's a huge actual market for really good analysts out there because you're worth your weight in gold. Because if you can adapt and become, I don't like the analysts that just throw things on you. There's a few of them that just there's all the information, but then there's also ones that are quite reserved and don't talk and don't get involved in the group. You've got to sort of know how to interact and how to actually go about it. And you're not a coach. You're just there to do your job. But then if you know a little bit about cricket, you can talk about the actual, the technique about playing this or playing that. I think there's a a fair few around the world that are good. But yeah, some of them are just computer guys that just sit there and do their thing and throw out all the stats.
Yeah. So on that question, I have a follow-up question to that. Is that who's the best draft manager that you've ever seen?
Well, I think this is rigged, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, well, to be fair, you're the only guy that I talk to about it, because in some of the other teams where I've been, no one actually asks like who should we look at or who should we get, or whereas I think that's what makes you pretty good in terms. I'm not putting making your head any bigger, but you will use the resources around you as well. You won't just look at the analytics. You won't just look at the players in Pakistan, but players that have played around the world, and those, whether it's myself or whoever, even talk. I know you got a relationship with Luke Ronke, asking him about players for Islamabad, because Islamabad played a big role in his career towards the back end there too. So you've got all this wealth of knowledge, and then it's up to you to bring it together and do what we did last year.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Ron. So I'm going to plug this as a reel and show that Munro loves me and rates me very highly. Moving on. One of the things that went viral with you in Pakistan was that catch that you took on the boundary, and you taught that kid about the catch. What was the whole experience like when the reel went viral? Did you expect it to go that viral, or you were surprised and shocked at what happened?
Oh, I was surprised and shocked. You know me. I just enjoy playing cricket, and yeah, I felt sorry for the kid that dropped the first ball, and he had his hands on his head for a little bit, and he was like, ah. And then, I was just trying to teach him, to maybe have your hands a bit higher or whatever. And, um, you know, never in my wildest guess that he would get another catch in the same game. And, it was a tough catch, low diving, and he got it. And yeah, I was so happy because we were actually winning the game too. So like everything was just in our favor, and then he took the catch, and then as soon as I looked down at him, his smile was so big, I just had to celebrate, and I didn't want to go with the half five, and he didn't know what a half five was, so I just picked him up, threw him around for a little bit, and then put him down, and then carried on, and I didn't even think anything of it. And then after the game, they said, "Oh, mate, it's starting to go. That video is starting to get a bit of traction." And then within a few days and weeks, it was massive. So yeah, all the boys were giving me a bit of stick, saying I was just carrying on a little bit, but that just happened naturally. You don't plan those sorts of things, and yeah, it's gone pretty big.
Yeah, talking of not planning and some things happening, I want the people who are watching this episode right now to know that there are two Munros. One is a very calm Munro, the guy you saw picking the kid up, and one is a Munro when he gets out and comes back into the dressing room. You've
Yeah,
gotten better over the years, but what's that
I
about?
have.
Throwing bats and everything.
Yeah, well, I just think it was. You know what? I think it comes down to it's like a habit. You do it once. Obviously, I think when you get out, you've got a certain amount of anger in you because you've got out, or um, it's not all the time. It's when if you get a good ball early on, or you've hit a good shot, but you get out, it's like, okay, well, yeah, that's fine. But if you keep making some errors and the same errors happen, I start getting a bit angry, angry, angry. If I don't release that tension sometimes, then it just blows up. And I think I've got better at knowing when that's going to happen and when it's not. I think obviously with age and a bit of experience, but yeah, when I was a lot younger, there was a lot of glove throwing, a lot of swearing. I more shout and abuse myself than actually throw stuff. I see some people throw bats and throw things, whereas I'm more of a glove thrower and then I just sit there and I just abuse myself for a good 5 minutes. And yeah, most people in franchise cricket like run out of the changing room when they know that I'm coming in. But towards the
Yeah.
now I know a few more players that I've played with and stuff. They will always come into the dressing room and sit there just so they can listen to it. And some of them are getting a little bit like, oh, mate, your blow ups aren't as bad anymore. They're all big anymore. So I'm not going to come into the dressing room when you get out anymore, because I've sort of learned. Well, it's taken me long enough. I've been playing for nearly 20 years um,
Yeah.
to actually just have the good one with the bad one. So Yeah, there's two Munros, a nice calm and collected one, which I like to be 95% of the time, but then obviously 10%, 5% of the time, angry Colin comes out every now and again.
Yeah, recently an angry Colin came out in Canada during the GT20, and I remember Muhammad Nawaz was in our team, and he was so
Yeah,
scared because he saw you for the first time lose it, and he
yeah,
came out. He's like, "Does he do it every time?" I said, "No, it happens sometimes. Usually, I
yeah,
don't even follow him in the dressing room, but because the dressing room is behind me, so yeah."
yeah.
Manas, we're going to wrap this up. I've taken enough of your time. I just want to ask you some quick fire questions.
Okay.
I know this has been an interview. When I were talking off the record, there would be a lot of Urdu words said which should not be said on air. Um, so I'm not going to ask you to say any Urdu words. You usually are. Before you go into any interviews in Pakistan, I give you some Urdu words, and then they ask you for Urdu words, and that's a
Yes.
separate. I'm just going to ask you some quick questions. Who would you rate as the toughest bowler you faced as an opener, bowling the first over in a T20 game?
I think I'd have to go Shah Freddie. Just because
Saim.
I
Okay.
know it's rapid fire, but because he swings it and then he's got that like wobble seam that can come back, so he's going to try and beat both edges a little bit. Yeah,
So yeah, I was expecting and hoping for that answer as well. Gives me clicks in Pakistan. So yeah,
perfect.
there's that. So Manat, I'm going to give you two names. You have to pick one of them. Death overs. You have to pick one. Bumrah or peak Malinga.
Peak Malinga.
Okay. Virat Kohli or Sachin Tendulkar.
Virat Kohli.
Okay, that's interesting. Kane Williamson, Joe Root. Kane or Root.
Oh, I've got to go with Joe Root.
This is not quick fire, man. You have to answer quickly.
Okay.
Yeah. T20s have to pick one bowler to bowl the new ball. Naseem Shah or Tim Saudi.
Tim Southey.
Trent Bowl or Mitchell Stark.
Trent Bolt.
Love playing where more, India or Pakistan.
Pakistan.
PSL or IPL.
PSL.
That's good, Manners. Great clicks here. Thank you so much. And Manners, thank you for taking out time. I have fun with you always. I wish we could do a more candid episode sometime. Just talk about the off-field stuff because the cricket stuff
Yeah.
happens a lot. I
Cool.
know you're one of the funniest people in cricket. That should come out in public as well. Thank you for taking time out. And we'll do this soon again.
Cool. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. See you, bud.